That was a pretty expensive lesson,
Pretty expensive lesson right
but
there.
I've tried that before. That didn't work.
Your
It
ideas
did.
paid off, right?
It did. Speech communication, if you can believe that.
You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Aline, the co-author of the books Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors and The Best Known Roofer. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the leading digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I sit down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, follow, like, share, review, subscribe, all of those things. If you want to take the conversation beyond with what you're listening to here, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. We have a guest from Yates Roofing, Curtis Yates. How are you today, sir?
I am good. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
You've been a long-time roofing contractor in Oklahoma. How'd you get into roofing? How'd you start Yates Roofing?
Well, I started it 8 years ago in April. Coming up on 8 years, I have been in the roofing business close to 40 years. So I started in college and worked for a larger company for that whole time, and then decided to branch off and do my own thing.
What was it that made you branch off?
Well, I think I wanted to do things a slightly different way than I had been doing it. So I have a bunch of really good customers, and I just wanted to take care of all their needs and get new customers as well. So
I really see that. Like that's a lot of times in the roofing industry, that's what it seems like. It's like maybe the company you're working for, you're like, man, they could do better here. And maybe you give them some suggestions and you're not being heard, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, look, I think I could do better myself, better on my own. And it looks like you have, right? Like, so how's the progression of Yates been since you started?
it has been really good. We had a great first year, and then we built on that every year since then. So we've grown to probably 4 times that amount in 8 years. So I'm super happy with the growth.
So your bet paid off. Your ideas paid off, right?
It did. I've had a lot of help, but I've got some really good people working with me, and I'm just enjoying it. It does take the team
for sure. So, you've been in the business for a lot of years. Go back to the how you said in high school you started roofing. So
college, I started I started installing shingles, and did that for close to 10 years. And then I was pretty much told I needed to come into the office and start working, or I wouldn't make it. And I'm glad I heeded that. So it's been that was a good transition
So from being in the field, installing roofs to then going into like a production manager role or that type of role, or what was the?
I started in sales. So
okay. All right.
I just started estimating and measuring roofs. I knew how to do part of that, but not all of it. And then stayed there for quite a while doing that.
So you started. What was your major in college?
Speech communication, if you can believe that.
Well, you were using it on the job. It sounds like, right?
Yes, I'm sure.
And so out of college, you'd been selling roofs while you were in college. get out of college. Did you ever pursue a career down that path, or did you just it was too late? You were already in the
No,
roofing industry.
no, I was not smart enough. I stayed in the roofing business, so it's a blessing. It was a blessing. It really was.
It's kind of funny. I talk to so many people that like the roofing industry kind of finds you a lot of times, right?
You did
Like
find me, that's for sure.
it doesn't. There's not many people seeking out the roofing industry, but the roofing industry finds you sometimes, and
Right.
it hooks you in. 40 years later, here you are.
Yes. Yes. So
So
I go ahead.
So did you
I'm
work
sorry.
for multiple companies along the way
No,
before starting Yates? You worked for one company.
I basically worked for one company
Okay.
that whole time. So
That's
it
something. What lessons did you learn from that company that you're like, hey, these are the things that I want to do like them, or that were good. That were the good things about the company that you were working with, and lessons that you learned of when you started Yates. Like, hey, I want to make sure that I do these things.
uh, I like the honesty.
Hmm.
I like to tell people what I'm going to do and do that. I wanted to be able to tell them when something was going to start, and it started then. So it worked out really. It really worked out well for me because the owner at that time, for the first 23 years, we were pretty much in line until he sold the company.
Oh, okay. So that was where the things started changing a little bit, huh?
That's where the rub came in.
Yep. Yep. And so everything was going well. Now the new company takes over, or new ownership takes over. And what things did they change that you were like, yeah, this isn't it? Like we're going down the wrong path here.
I don't know that they went down the wrong path or anything like that. It was just it was a family that bought the company,
Oh,
and they brought their kids in to run it. And I wasn't really a part of that. So
yeah.
it was probably a better thing for me to step aside and let them do their
Yep.
thing and let me start my own thing.
Well, that makes sense. And that's lessons for people, right? Like when
Right.
especially if you're acquiring a company, man, if you have to kind of mesh these things together with the new people and the people that have been there for a long time, boy, that's a tricky situation. And it sounds like it didn't, that's what it was for you guys. And then, so then you said, look, it's time to start Yates. You had a lot of experience on the sales side. When you started Yates, what were some of the things that you thought you wanted to do differently?
Well, I think I just wanted to have a personal touch with all my customers and make
Mm.
sure that they knew who I was, and I knew who they were, and I could take care of their needs.
Yeah. How have you done that through the years? Because you've been doing roofing sales for a long time. I'm sure you have a long book of past customers, right? Like, and probably pretty well known in the area. And,
I,
you know a lot of people from being around so much. How have you maintained that? How have you developed that over the years, that personal touch?
well, the sales was a big part of that, but working in the field helped a lot because
Mm.
I had great mentors along the way that taught me the trade, and so I kind of know how to look at things and figure out what I've got to do to fix them. Leaks in certain areas. There's all kinds of different things you can do in situations. And certain things are better than others. So,
Yeah.
luckily I've been around some really good people that have taught me some things along the way. And hopefully I've taught some other people things along the way
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So when I guess so from a sales perspective, if you had to tell a sales rep that's starting out now, like, would it be that, hey, you really learn roofing? Is that what I'm
Right.
hearing from you?
I would say that, but learn how to communicate.
Oh,
Try to figure out what somebody's problem is and figure out either come up with your own way of how to fix something and then bounce that off other people that have a lot of experience as well, so they can tell you, hey, I've tried that before, that didn't work, or
that's
yeah,
right.
hey, that's a good way of starting, so
For sure. Yeah, for sure. That, and I guess there's probably you've probably seen a few changes in the roofing industry over the years.
yes, my we have this is Oklahoma is a really storm driven
Yeah,
area, so
for sure.
I deal a lot with insurance companies, and that has changed a, a big swings. Higher deductibles, different ways of companies have decided to be either tighter with the way they call something, and we just have to figure out what we have to do to make that work. So.
Yeah. So you think the biggest changes for you has just been the insurance process through the years, or
Well, yes and no. I mean, tons of different technologies have changed.
yeah,
When I first started installing, modified bitumen was just on it, taking baby steps, and
yeah,
I learned how to torch that down and work with that as far as flat roofs and patios and bigger buildings,
yep,
churches, that sort of thing. But now it's TPO, so we've kind
yeah,
of gravitated from one to the other because one's a lot easier. TPO is a lot easier to deal with.
yeah.
So
The
that
systems are changing constantly,
correct,
like the technology, right? Like it's
right?
pretty.
And yeah, they didn't sell a lot of systems
Yeah,
and systems warranties, and luckily, I've been picked up by some manufacturers. So we do a lot of system work as far as shingle roof. That we do GF, Malarkey, Certainteed, so on and so forth. So I try to sell warranties if I can. If I can't, I try to just make sure I'm in that system.
yeah. Are you? What would you say your percentage of commercial to residential is?
Oh, I would say I do uh, probably 85 to 90% residential, and
Yeah.
then 15 to 20% uh, commercial.
Yep. And so through that, like with, do you think the sales process changes as the materials and systems improve through the years? How have you adapted to that? Or is it just, hey, it's the new thing, this is what we're installing now, this is the best thing for you?
Well, I want to make sure that whoever I'm dealing with uh, are larger manufacturers and they have all the research and development already done. So usually they're good products by the time they're rolled out. So, and I have access to a lot of really good training for me and my guys.
Yeah. And that, so how have you done that in building up the team? Because, when you started your own company, I mean, that's the foundation, right? It's not going to be just you doing
Right.
everything. So how did you go about, those first hires when you were getting started into, who did you build the team? What's the team look like now, 8 years
Well,
later?
well, the first guy that I hired is a guy I went to college with, a guy named Mark Baker. Luckily, he's still with me. He came out of a long history of, he was an adjuster with farmers. So, and he's helped me get other guys as well. I've got another adjuster from farmers, same kind of tenure that he had, close to 30 years. So they know what they're dealing with when it came to farmers. And then I've hired some other guys that James Ford is a guy that has got about 30 years of experience that has worked all over the country selling roofs. So, and I've just been luckily, there have been one or two hires that didn't work out, but that was it. But I've hired probably six that have worked
Yeah.
out. So,
What do you look for when you're looking for a good team member?
well, basically that I'm looking for a team member. I'm not looking for somebody who can go out and do it all on their own or a kind of a lone wolf kind of guy. I want our culture here is we're real team oriented. So if I can help somebody else, I want to help them out. If they can help someone else out, I want to see that.
How do you think how has it been and what's the experience been? Because, 2-year guys they were State Farm adjusters, right? So with that industry experience on the other side, do you think that was an advantage for them coming into the roofing industry? How much of an advantage? Were they able to communicate that knowledge over to the team to level up the team? How's that been?
Oh yeah, they've been more than willing to help show how things work on the other side of the fence, so to speak. So it worked out. It has worked out well for them. Both have done extremely well. They're successful, and I think they're fulfilled. So that's a big thing for me is make sure the guys feel good about what they're doing.
For sure. How do you encourage that?
Well, hopefully I lead by example. I want to help when I can help, do what I can do to help them do their jobs as far as give them my knowledge, give them my time. Any tools they need, I want to make sure if it's a computer or whatever the case may be, software, whatever. So I just want them to have what they need or what they think they need. So,
yep. What are some of the, as you were, going from a sales rep for, many, many years to then owning the company, what have been the biggest challenges that you've run into from an owner perspective?
Well, I don't think our company, I've had a lot of good help. I have some peak guys that work with me that are partners as well. So they help me partner in making processes that we can stick to. That's a big deal for me is I just don't know that I had that kind of mindset to figure out, okay, we have to do something the same way all the time. Otherwise it gets all crazy.
That's for sure. So there's a thing, right, with kind of people who have more of an entrepreneurial spirit or are not always the process driven people. Right. Sales reps are not known to be process driven people either.
No,
maybe in their scripting and their communication with homeowners and things like that. But yeah, you need those process driven people to make sure things are moving in alignment, right?
Absolutely.
When you started out, are you just, hey, in your market, is it just, hey, there's a storm, we're knocking, or have you done other kind of efforts to make sure that your name is out there?
Luckily, we have not door knocked. that I know of. I mean, if we
Yeah,
have, it's
yeah,
been on a small incidences, but
yep.
everyone brings kind of their own book of business
Mm,
to my. They have friends that are agents, insurance agents, or adjusters, or builders, or guys that bring a whole list of people that call them or refer us to somebody
yeah.
else. So
So your guys have kind of, they have their own kind of book of business within your business a little bit,
right,
is it, maybe to say that way.
right,
Um,
right,
and then and is that, and then you have your book of business too. So have you developed, is that how you built your business, insurance agent relationships and things like that
correct.
over the years?
Yes, tons
What
of
what
that
kind,
and adjusters.
and adjusters, right? So
Right,
let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of times there's a, people, not that people, people don't want to get sold to, right? So as a,
right,
hey, I'm a roofer, Mr. Insurance Agent, you should send me work, right? Like,
right, right,
how
right.
have you, what have you done through the years to help build those relationships? What would be some advice that you could give someone there?
I would think once you have a relation, spend a lot of time building the relationship with these people. It's not always about what jobs you're getting or what jobs you're not getting, but any information you can help them with. I did. We did the first couple of years I started the business. We did a continuing education, which
Mm,
for agents and our adjusters, so they got some time out of it, and it's that was just a small piece of it, but we did do that.
let's talk about that a little bit, because I used to do that in the I was in the mortgage and real estate industry, and like when I was in the mortgage industry, we would create continuing education classes for realtors, and teach those classes, and
Right.
then and that's how you get in front of a room full of licensed people. So what were some of the classes that you taught?
The topics were identifying certain kinds of shingles, certain kinds of flat areas, flat
Yep.
roofing, certain things that could be, and how you could tell one from another. Just the
The real
difference.
basic stuff,
Yeah,
right?
basic stuff, but
Real
they don't
basic
teach.
stuff.
They don't teach that to adjusters.
No.
They will come out and call modified bitumen 90 pound, or
Yeah.
vice versa, and they either pay too much or too little. So I tried to educate through that continuing education, just how to tell different things and how certain things, installation problems, high nailing, that sort of thing.
Yep.
So
And then, okay, so you get these classes together. It's kind of basic roofing knowledge, right?
sorry, I'm sorry. My team
That's
is.
all right.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go again.
You're all right. So you put these classes together. They're like basic roofing knowledge for insurance agents and insurance adjusters, right?
Right.
And then did you have to, like, I remember when I was doing my continuing education classes, I had to go to the Department of Real Estate, because I was doing it for real estate agents, and get my class approved for credits. Did you have to
Yes,
do that, like with the Department of Insurance or something in your
did.
state?
We did have to
Yep.
do that.
Yeah.
So,
So then you get this class approved, right? You go down,
right.
you do this. About how long would these classes be? Half hour, hour, 2 hours?
No, they were more like 4 hours or 6
4 hour
hours, because
classes. So, yep.
they were able to get what they needed each year or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 2 years that they needed to
Yeah, their
get so many
update, their
hours.
licensing
Right.
and continuing
Right.
education. So, I mean, this is for people. This is an amazing way to get in front of people, right? To get in front of the right people that can refer you business. And so you go out, you create a presentation, You go down to the Department of Insurance, you get it approved as continuing education credits for those insurance agents or for those adjusters. Now, those people have to get those credits every year or two
Right.
to maintain their license. So and one thing I noticed, because going through those continuing education classes year after year, boy, it's the same stuff over and over again. And so if you have something a little bit different, a lot of times they'll just pick it just because it's something different that they didn't have to listen to last year's version, right?
Correct. Because that kind of gets regurgitated a little bit.
It gets regurgitated, right? And so, okay, so now how did you get butts and seats?
You know what? I have several relationships with different people. So we either decided to do agents or adjusters. And the other guys had the same kind of relationships with people. So we kind of had a target audience to send invitations to. And it was well attended for probably 2 or 3 years. And then we kind of pulled back, and I probably want to start that up again because some things have changed out there as well, as because there's fortified roofing and impact resistant roofing, and there's a big fight.
The industry keeps changing, right? Like the materials keep improving, everything keeps improving. There's all kinds of cool stuff out there to talk about.
Right.
How many people do you think on average you'd get in a room on one of those sessions?
I mean, probably as many as 14 or 16, and probably as few as 4 or 6, So, but every time we did it was fun. It was a good time.
Exactly. And I think that, so there's a couple of things that happen when you do things like this. The first is, like, they're a captive audience. They're like, what are they going to do? They get to know you, right? Like there's you got them for 4 hours or 5 hours, like you said, you're going to get to know them. They're going to get to know you. And that level of relationship building, boy, that's a big thing, right? And so, but the other thing that I love about public speaking, and this is, and having these types of classes, is that the person in front of the room is the expert. And if they're looking at you like the expert, boy, that's a lot of points scored in their book, right? Like and I was down here at Curtis's class. Then when something pops up, and they're one of their customers files a claim, I think you should go with these guys. They're really smart. Right, they know their stuff.
Yeah, that's been helpful. So,
what out of those classes, you got four people in one class and 15 in another, and through the years, how have those relationships turned into business for you?
They still, even some of the people, I shouldn't say guys, because there's but some of the people have referred us even after they've retired, or we've done their work. So they've had insurance claims or something like that. So that's a pretty good testimony when I can do their own, when they're not just throwing my name out.
Property too. Do their personal roof too. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great thing. A lot of people, they don't. It's something that everyone is kind of taught. Like go bang doors, go work your relationships, your friends and family, work your community. Nowadays it's just internet leads, right? Go get some Facebook leads and Google leads and things like that. But there's these relationships that can be built through education. Man, that's a big thing. What other things did you do along the way to kind of build your book of business, build your referral relationships?
We have I have several realtors, and my guys have several realtors that they do inspections for, or they help out before a closing or do whatever
Yep.
they've got to do. So they refer realtors can be they're a great source.
They can be. Now, on the other
Yes,
side of that, I always like I've dealt with them a lot, and they're always asking you to come out and get that so that they could get that closing, right? Like, hey,
right.
we just need an inspection, we just need that, and a lot of times that doesn't turn into work on the other side. It's
It,
just and so what would you say to the people that are like, yeah, I don't like working with those realtors because they waste a lot of our time? Or how have you kind of managed those realtor relationships to not, just have you coming out doing inspections all the time and really never getting much business out of it?
I think some people can hang themselves. So if you pay attention to who you deal with, I used to tell guys just to be really wary, but I've had several in the last several years that have come to me and have been just great people. I think
Yeah.
that industry has changed a bunch because they had, at one point years ago, there were tons of people in that business. And now there's not as many. So I think those
Yeah.
people figure out, hey, I better treat somebody the way I want to be treated, or
Yeah.
I'm not going to be around very long. So,
And I guess maybe it just comes down to that, right? If somebody
right,
is taking advantage of your time, hey, this might not be the right, I might not be the right person to call anymore.
right, right, right.
like, but if business is coming this way, all right, we're okay. We can maintain this relationship. I'll give you some free inspections every now and then that I know aren't going to turn into some, into revenue on the other side. But,
All right.
but just so a percentage of them are, you know.
Well, a lot of it, people have to click. They have to be on the same page.
That's right.
I know, I feel like all the realtors that I deal with and the realtors that my other people deal with, they're trying to help their customer out. They're not
They
just
are.
trying to help themselves out. So
That's
we're
right.
trying to do the same thing. So if it means we get to help somebody out, that's great. I want
Yeah.
to do that.
And I guess that's the thing too, is having the right mindset, right? Having the
Right.
right mindset and being like, hey, we're here to help. I have this skill set. I can determine if your roof has damage or not, what it's going to take to fix it or repair it or replace it. And so I'm here to serve. And if
Right.
if you have that mentality, then maybe you're not so worried about those few and those ones that they call you out on that, yeah, this isn't going to turn into anything. But
Well, sure. But that's where you build relationships with
yes,
those people. Doesn't matter who, if they're adjusters, agents, real estate people, brokers, that sort of thing. We spend a lot of time. Good thing about this business is it's pretty flexible. You get to
yeah,
come work and do what you want to do. You can take as much time off as you want to take off,
yeah,
but
yep,
you have to pay that has a way of settling itself out. Uh, it's what I love about doing this is I love to be able to uh, treat people the way I want to be treated,
yeah,
and make sure that everyone feels that same way. And if somebody just deals straight with me like that,
yeah,
I'll deal straight with. I'm going to deal with them like that
yeah,
always. So
for sure. It's a good thing to be, and that's honestly one of the biggest themes that I've seen in people who've started their own companies was that, like, they just want to do good work for people.
right.
They just want to treat people right. They just want to do good work for people. They want, and the that seems to create longevity in the roofing space.
Well, I hope it's done that for me.
Yeah.
Even whether I was working for somebody or working for myself. So,
Yeah. So, along the way, in the insurance business, there's always, there's always, cash coming in, cash going out, right? How have you dealt with that or along the way in collections and making sure that that's in line?
well, that has been we have a Friday meeting every Friday at 8 o'clock. So we've been doing that for probably a year and a half, maybe. And probably a year ago, we got on the whole process. One of my partners took over, Andrew Payne, and he makes us all accountable for a collection. So we get a list of people that have owed money for a little bit of time or a lot of bit of time, and then we have action steps on what we need to do to collect that or help them pay that or do whatever. So,
I mean, that's a big thing. I was talking to someone earlier today, and we were chatting about this and the same topic, and it was like there's a lot of companies out there that are like, wow, they look at their sold revenue. They're looking at those contracts,
right.
But they're not looking at the other end of what is coming in and getting those to match. And they're
Right.
like, man, we sold 3 million this year, but we're struggling.
Right.
It's like, well, but you only collected 2.
Right. It's kind of hard to do business that way because
it is very hard to do business that way. So what would be some advice that you would give? What's your process? You don't want to, be too, I guess, I would think you don't want to be too aggressive with the homeowner up front. You want to, what's your guys' process? How are you making sure that that's getting collected, and what level of collection are you at now? Are you collecting like 98% within a certain time frame? How has the focus on it helped the collection process?
The focus and the accountability with one another, whether it be a small repair or a large one, I don't want anybody to strong arm anybody. But we do business and we need to be paid. And just that whole teamwork has helped just turn the focus on it. So it's helped a bunch. We don't have to think about it that much. We deal with it a couple of days a week. Typically, the Friday morning is for everyone has their 15 minutes of shame or 15 minutes of fame, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, and then you go to work on it the next few days, a phone call here or a phone call there. Just the focus on it helps a bunch.
It does. It's that what you focus on expands, right? Like,
Right.
So I'm sure that it's extremely helpful with that. And I mean, that's the lifeblood, right? Like, if you don't
Right.
have that cash coming in, it could get out of hand pretty quick,
Well, it's shocking how many companies come and go in this business because they weren't good with the collection. That's the biggest chunk.
Yep. You guys have done a good job with branding and things like that. You have, all your trucks are wrapped. What was your thought process there, and what does it do for you on a day-to-day basis from a marketing perspective?
Well, one of the best things we've done is we've hired a gal that takes care of our marketing. She's just, we've had 2 girls. Both still work for me. One has moved up the chain, and one just got started 4 months ago. But they both do great jobs. Fantastic. But they bring a whole brand new, just a view. They look at things differently than, say, I might look at things. So we try to stay in contact. Once we get a customer, we want to keep that customer. We don't want them going anywhere else. We want them to rely and trust us to call us anytime there's an issue with what they've got.
Yeah, for sure. And that trust is, I mean, it's built through the brand. Do you guys do anything else? Do you have certain procedures for what, how everyone's dressed and where the yard signs go and any of that type of stuff? Or is it kind of, you keep it loose?
Well, it's probably looser than it should be, but we have yard signs. We have a catch-all system. I have
Yep.
two actually. So hopefully this year every house will be done with a catch-all. So it has our name on it and
Yep.
where somebody can find us. Our marketing gal gives gift baskets to all our customers that we do work for. And then she asks them their questions, what they like about it, what they didn't like about it, what kind of concerns. She can always come back to the office and deal straight with the sales guy or with
Yeah.
me, and then we can kind of correct it. Hopefully, we've created a avenue of communications between us and the
I think
customer.
that's important. You said something very important there, that she can come back to the office and work on correcting things.
Correct.
It's never perfect, right? Like
No.
there's always something that comes up. But if you don't ask your customers, you're never going to get the answers to those things.
Right. Because,
Right.
and I think people, if they know that you genuinely care about how they feel about things, they're a little more open to sharing those. And then
For sure.
then you can take care of them and hopefully cross those off. You're not ever going to be perfect. You're right. This is a hard business to do things right all the time. You can try and strive, but you're still going to drop the ball every once in a while. And being able to pick it up and carry it on, that's a big thing.
Yep. What are some of the kind of things that you've learned in that process where you're like, oh man, I thought we were doing this well, but we've heard this a couple of times. What are some of those things that have popped up?
Man. It seems like every year we focus on things that are like we remember all the failures, but we don't. And we remember the big events too. I think just trying to stay connected with our customers any which way we can, whether it be whatever venue we're sponsoring or doing whatever that sort of thing. That's a tough one because I know we've made several mistakes, but the one thing that we've tried to keep solid is just go back and if have done something wrong, we're going to fix it, and that
That's
could
right.
be we missed a leak on a repair, or that might mean we have to go re-roof a house that we just re-roofed.
Tell me a story. Tell me a story of one time that you like where you're like, man, this was one that we messed this one up and we had to go and we made it right.
Yeah, well, we changed, did a roof and didn't deck it like it should have been decked. So when we finally got it inspected and looked at it, I said, "This is not done the way we want to do it." And I said, "This is going to be a really big headache, but we're going to tear it off and redo it." And we tore it all off and redid it again. That was a pretty expensive lesson, but
pretty expensive lesson right
but
there.
I was glad we did it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to wake up in the night from a bad dream or I just
What
want to make
what
sure I do things right.
what impact do you think that had with the way the homeowner looked at your company?
I hope she understood that
Yeah.
I genuinely cared
Yeah.
to the point where I paid to do her
Paid a
roof,
lot of money to yeah.
not the other way around. So I hope she did.
That's
I don't
right.
know. I don't know. Uh, I
You
don't know how she felt. To be
yeah.
honest, so
But
I
you
just
sleep well at night because of
I
that,
do. I
right?
do.
Like
I wanted to. I knew if somebody did that to me and they came back and said, "Hey, we're going
that's
to
right.
redo this," I don't know how that. I mean, that would make me feel great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, we don't feel good about the way this is done. Let's do this
Right.
again. That's a big look. It may be a additional inconvenience for a short amount of time,
Right.
right? But boy, you definitely, if you're a homeowner, you want that. You really really want that done right. If What do you think the greatest insight is that you could share with our audience that's helped you find success with your roofing business?
I want to hire the very best people I can with great uh, motives, great attitudes, and I want my customers to be the same way. I want to have fun doing this. This is not we have a very short window of time on this earth. So if we can do it and have a little bit of fun with it, and do it seriously, and like I said, have fun. So
Yeah,
that's a
awesome.
big
You got to have fun with what you're doing. This has
right.
been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more revenue through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com to get a copy of the book, The Best Known Roofer. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. Thanks for listening.